What is good, guys? Welcome back to a belated episode of the Bodybuilding Prospect podcast with your host Al and myself. This week, there's a lot to go through, a lot to talk about. But primarily, we wanted to start this off taking a look at post-show, sort of some of the parameters you may want to put in place coming out the back of competing, or to kind of shed some light on how important the post-show window is for people that may be thinking to compete or kind of on their way through their first prep, just to highlight some of it and just stress the importance of that window and why it's probably or arguably just as important as the prep itself. You know, I like to say that prep doesn't finish on the show day. You probably got another 4 to 6 weeks past that realistically. That's the mindset you kind of need to implement. There's a lot from my front to talk through. Just come back from holiday. Kind of got engaged, which is kind of cool. But before we
kind of got engaged.
Zoe won her first show of the season, then went on to win her second show, the PCA at Bedford, after the PCA Saxon class win. She then took the overall in the PCA Bedford show, which I think was just the PCA Southeast or South. But it was, just absolutely insane day. It was very nice to see her get recognition after getting through to the overalls last time, and taking the sword home was quite sick. How we kind of went away on holiday pretty much the day after she won the sword, which is not the done thing. When you look at competitors, they like to come away from post-show and be very anal, track everything to the letter. So when I said to people like, we're going away on holiday, it's like, how are you managing it? Just some stuff for us to go into. Obviously, we've got a nice lot of drama to fire in from Al as per usual, and the usual questions.
It's not my drama. It's we'll go into it in a bit, but the industry sometimes needs to be told straight.
Yeah.
And
Al, your experiences with post-show, just start reeling off some. Just start going into some.
Just to be transparent, in my competitive career, I've fucked every single post show. That's honest. That I can't sit here and say I've nailed it, because I never have. I said every year that I would do better, and I have. That's the main takeaway from it. I got better every year at holding on to as much as I could before the fat kid came in, and my poor relationship with food was there, and yada yada yada. And body fat accruement was coming on way too fast. Don't get me wrong, that post-show window, I believe there is some, I don't even know what the term could be used, but hypergrowth is what's just come to my head, right? As in how you can slingshot out of a deficit, or should we say a supreme deficit that a bodybuilding prep is. And the amount of tissue that I believe you can gain just in the pure bro way is quite substantial, I believe, because you can put on 15, 20 kilos within a very short period of time. You couldn't do that normally, just going from standard diet. I want to put 20 kilos on. It's going to be extremely unhealthy, but those windows is where you can put that on very fast. Yes, dominantly that is going to be body fat and fluid with the small amount of muscle tissue alongside that. But the pressure on your body is going to be rather large. The pain of the lower back pumps, those that know, calf pain, ankle pain,
blood pressure.
Oh my god, blood pressure is obviously the highest. The one that I should have said burst. Blood glucose levels.
The typical post-show window, what I was saying is that like he's not maybe nailed it perfectly, but he has improved from show to show. And it's an important takeaway that when you do go into an extreme deficit and you come out of it the first time, there's a chance you're probably going to make some mistakes. Despite your coach maybe knowing what to do, it's still down to you to kind of make sure you're not making them mistakes. And it's very, very hard to. When you come out of that hypercaloric state, you've got a lot of hunger signaling and negative adaptations that have occurred during the diet, during the deficit, that you're going to have to correct. And the moment you start eating, your ghrelin response is going to go through the roof. Ghrelin is just a hunger hormone that stimulates appetite. And that will trick your brain into saying that your appetite just keeps increasing the more you eat. So the more you feed it, the worse it gets. And it's very, very easy to fall into that trap of overeating, binge restrict cycles. You can see how it just coming out of the back of that prep when you're in quite a sensitive and emotional state anyway, can turn to them old habits or create new bad habits. And destroy a relationship with food essentially. So it's important to be honest with yourself and appreciate that if you do fuck up a little bit, it can be corrected. You want to try and manage it as best as possible. But like Al said, he's learned every time, and he may not get it perfect recently, but it was an improvement every single time. And that's the important takeaway there.
What I've picked up in coming out of deficits, like I did a mini cut at the beginning of this year, and what helped me so much when coming out of that, I did a 9-week rapid fat loss phase, clean up, dropped calories substantially, expenditure was jacked up from the start. There was no change in the diet the whole time. It was just 224 protein, 300 gram carb, 50 gram fat, 15K steps. That was it, 9 weeks flat. No off-plan meal. The best thing that ever happened to me was having an off-plan meal taken away, because my history before is a bad relationship with food. I did have a terrible relationship with food because I put it on a pedestal. I'm working Monday to Friday. So on that Friday or Saturday night, I get to have my 2 large Domino's pizzas, Ben & Jerry's and whatever. And it'd be a binge fest. But let's be honest, people, it's a numbers game. And the numbers do add up very fast. And especially when you're choosing by far the worst food source ever to choose, which is a pizza from Domino's, Papa John's, things like that. The nutrition content's poor. The calorie count is fucking insane. And what could you have done better? Now, slingshot forward, no off-plan meal, rebounding out of my deficit. I'm nearly 10 kilos up from my deficit already, and I'm eating more than I ever have done, and I still have a tight midsection, and I don't feel unhealthy. Purely because I still do not now, to this moment, I haven't had an off-plan meal this year that hasn't been tracked. Probably since January the 7th, I think I started. So yeah, and that is what's kept me in check. Of course, post-show, you're going to have your friends bring you food. You're going to have your cravings. There's going to be your cookie dealer cookies, your cake box. We all know what goes down. Enjoy it. I'm not saying don't have it, but there's a lid to be put back on is what I can say. But then again, I'm no hero. I've fucked every single one, but I will apply myself the best way next time, because once that physique starts to change and you start putting that body fat, you don't look good. And then that beats you up. That beat me up, because I had a guy in the gym come up to me, he was like, I swear you were shredded the other week. And I was like, yeah, mate. I was like, fuck, he was.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah, 15 kilo later, here I am, face out here, fucking acne flaring up like no tomorrow, which is a big thing for me post-show. Just not being able to stop eating. It's a conscious decision here, let's be honest. But
what you're saying about the weight gain post-show, when you come out of that extreme deficit, you're going to be hypersensitive to 2 things: gaining weight, right? But in that variable is 2 factors: muscle gain and fat gain. Yes, you could potentially gain quite a lot of tissue if you jumped out of it, went straight back to training, started blasting the gear, and went for it full bore. But you're also going to accumulate a lot of body fat at that time. Your metabolism has been down-regulated. All the way through that prep, your body's efficiently doing it on purpose. And then you start ramping the food in. Your metabolism will increase, but the rate of fat gain alongside that initial post-show rebound, in inverted commas, is extremely high. And people will look at themselves and be like, oh, like you said, 15 kilos up in what, a week, 2 weeks?
Pardon, 15 kilo.
2-3 weeks?
I think it was 8 kilo in a week, which is the first.
Yeah.
Which isn't that bad. When you come in out of a prep, 8 kilo is not even that bad. Yeah. It's that period afterwards where that 8 kilo did not slow down.
Yeah.
It's 8 kilos like a cap. Let's be honest, like a real cap. You put 10 kilo on, you're doing something right. Depending how depleted you were, guys making weight, things like that, having their legs battered to pieces and withering away, going all stringy. The weight gain can be crazy, but
you have to factor in the fluid returning to the physique, of course.
Yeah, depends on the bigger you get, the more fluid your body is going to fucking hold. Yeah. For example, now I know when I go flat, I can expect 6-7 pounds of fluid to go back in.
Yeah,
that's fluid only, no muscle, no fat. That is just purely fluid within my muscles.
Yeah.
Now I know that. Now I have peace of mind when I come out of a deficit, when I have that sudden weight gain. It's explained. When there's an explanation, oh my God, the peace of mind is so uplifting. Because there's a reason behind it. And you're like, oh yeah, I fluctuate. Like, for example, this week, I fluctuated 2 kilos either way this week. I'm chilled with it. because I fluctuate like a mofo. I am like a sponge at the minute. And
the reality is that most individuals are. There's going to be those massive fluctuations, and in a post-show setting, that initial gain of fluid and what the lead off of sodium and everything from the post-show meal, however much you eat, will throw heads straight away. I think it's important to drill in the whole reverse dieting thing. It doesn't fly anymore, and rightly so, right? It's good that that's been axed and chucked out. Or I know there's people that still do it, which is retarded, but the majority of people now have kind of realized that the recovery diet, to kind of quantify it, I guess, is a much better approach to the post-show window. And within that, you have to gain back some body fat, right? You've got to regain the essential for health. Contest lean is great, contest shredded is great, but it's not sustainable, and it comes with a lot of negatives, which is why we do it for the day and then get out as quickly as possible. So the parameters that I put in place for Zoe post-show was, ideally in the first week, I kind of wanted to gain, for her weight and looking at her fluid fluctuations that we have from data previously, 5 to 10 pounds is usually a very, very good guideline for the first week. And then after that, maybe for the rest of her recovery phase, which is 4 weeks, 2 to 3 pound per week max. Or instead of trying to quantify it with a number, the goal should be to achieve some kind of homeostatic maintenance, right, on all of your biofeedback. So your sleep hygiene, how good is the quality of your sleep? Everyone knows that during prep, you're going to get to a point where sleep takes a dive sort of in that maybe last 6 weeks for some people. Sometimes it's longer, but eventually there will be a point where sleep takes a dive because of the parasympathetic nervous system response and adrenaline release on prep. So it's important that post-show, in order to optimize your recovery and make the next phase efficient, you've got to get sleep back in check. Hunger signaling is another big one. Like, you're going to spend a lot of time ignoring these signals because you're on prep, you've got a goal. It's very easy to manifest the end and be like, right, I don't care about hunger because that's important, and you've got motivation. Post-show, you don't really have that same interior drive to stop you from responding to what is a natural reaction, right? Hunger signaling it's going to be there whether you like it or not. It's part of being human. But again, if you get back to a good set point in body fat, the optimal set point for you as an individual, hunger signaling will correct itself once you get back to that state. So you need to focus on recovery, keeping it being as healthy as possible. And this is where people go wrong with the post-show rebound, because they know that they're susceptible to gain a lot of tissue. They brush over the whole, I'm going to probably gain a lot of body fat with this, and they just go for it thinking it's the best thing to do. But if you focus on recovery and you manage the body fat gain accordingly, and you don't go like a bull in a china shop from the get-go, you'll have a nice window in the recovery phase where you have a rebound. You will gain back quite a good pop to your physique. It will look great. You'll be nice and lean, but you'll look really, really good. And then when you jump from that into the off season or the next push-up, then you'll have a rebound again. You'll get two. So it's a no-brainer. And you'll stay in good condition. You won't accumulate all of that hypersensitive body fat or potentially collateral fattening that could occur at that time.
That's overall the biggest win, is staying looking like you actually bodybuild afterwards. I knew I stretched it too far. Another funny thing, when someone comes up to me in the gym, oh, are you getting into powerlifting? I was like, I must be pretty thick right now. That's when I grew the beard and I had the big chosen few tops on, walking around grunting every step, because you're just too chunky. And that's when I knew things had gone a little bit west again. Oh, you're getting into powerlifting? No, I'm fucking not. I ain't strong like that. I may look like one, or a B-Tech one at that, but hey. But yeah, obviously we all know that first week post-show, I believe that is the best someone will ever look, when you are full to the damn. I have pictures on my phone of me in that week post-show. You're 6-7 kilo up, everything is bursting, and you've still got that honey glazed tan still going on, and it is ridiculous. You look like a freak of nature. And then that fades off. That fluid retention builds and builds and builds hourly, and then the body fat will accrue. And if you don't slow down on that eating, big boy, it does go west very quick.
It's easy to do.
What can you do better? Switch, instead of having the shit food, switch to more satiating foods that you can eat a shit ton of. You know, I came up with a saying this year, and George may have heard me say it. It says, "I choose the rice." Is a saying that I say this year. And me and my sayings, I do have them year on year. There's another one which is, "I choose the rice." For example, I'll go to a friend's house for dinner or something. They help me out loads. For example, if they know I'm coming, they'll have something for me, or they base the whole meal around me. You know, the dessert stuff like the small cookies, the flapjacks, whatever. Like for everyone else, I'll look at it. I'll look at the macros of it, and I'll be like, I'd rather choose the rice. I'll be honest. Like I can have this small piece of flapjack, which is 12 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fat. Like, look at the fucking size of it. It's like this, you know. And I just think in my head, what else could I have instead of that? You know, I could have 4 times the size of that of a basmati rice.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna lie, it bangs. If you can release that emotion from, because I haven't had those sweet foods in so long, I don't crave them.
Yeah.
And even I went to my auntie's birthday party at my mum's yesterday. They brought out the birthday cake. I genuinely, I just say no to it now, and no one bats an eye, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Everyone else having a bit. If the most I'll ever have of something is like the smallest nibble of a corner of my girlfriend's, you know, which I didn't even have yesterday. It was like, it looks good, but I'm just not. I don't know. I've got a pita bread here with my chicken and rice. I'm quite content.
Yeah. It leaves more for the important meals, then you can have a lot more volume of food.
I enjoy. I'm still guilty for, you know, when you're in deficit and you try and say, if you're macro tracking, you stack food for the end of the day.
Yeah.
Now food's going up to like 550, 600 grams of carb now. I'm like, mate, you need to stop trying to save food for the end of the day, because you've got so much to eat.
Yep.
Like I end up like having those 2-3 hours before bed thinking, sweet, I'll get 300 grams of carb in, let's go. And it's like,
by the end of it,
I'm really full.
Yeah.
And it's my final meal, which is a cream of rice meal. It's 120 grams of cream of rice, 20 grams of dark chocolate, 15 grams of honey, and a banana. Chopped up, like insanely chopped up banana. It's like the smallest pieces just darted all over. And that meal just absolutely just sits so well before bed. It's the sweet craving done when it's made right, because some of you are shit at making cream of rice. I don't care if you think you're good. Everyone thinks they're good. If it's sloppy, cream of rice, it's shit. That's my view on it. But yeah, get yourself something like that. Making my mouth water thinking about it. You know, it really is.
Well, one of the things, so I had a lot of people messaging me in regard to when I was away on holiday, asking me how me and Zoe was tackling the situation, right? Because post-show, like we've just highlighted, is can be a very difficult time for most people, right? And one of the things I try and express is that we're not, although we're not tracking, we're also not binging or just completely flying off the rails. So there's something called informed eating, right, which is something we've got a ebook on at Flex Success to try and help people, and it's about stepping away from macro tracking, right? Because it's great teaching people how to macro track, teaching people about nutrition and understanding like how to make good decisions around their food, not eating good or bad foods, but just making good decisions about it, because you can eat anything, it's just macros, right? Once you understand that, it makes it really easy to start playing around. Like you're flying with the macro tracking in a moment. Like you can make it so fun and enjoyable, and it just works. Like you can do it in a deficit, in a surplus, whatever. It still works. It's just numbers. But there has to be a point in time where you can live like a quote unquote normal human being again. You know, where you eat maybe 3 meals a day, and you just.
Are you stepping away from like Chronometer, MyFitnessPal at this point? There's no actual plug-in and play-in. You are literally all up in here.
Yep.
Working out. It's a good test. Was it a good test?
So my maintenance, I left at 106.4 and came back 107. Nailed it. Zoe left. Post-show, we left. I said to her, I ideally wanted you on. This is the macros and calories that I planned before the comp was done. So this is what we need to eat. I've got a pretty good idea of how much food that is. But what we're going to do is we're going to trial informed eating. You're going to make good decisions around your food. And I'm going to look at you and just make decisions based off of how you respond throughout the week. She gained 4 kilos, well within the parameters of 5 to 10 pounds that I wanted.
And post-show, that's people. Oh, how much did she gain again? 4 kilos.
4 kilos.
Anyone? But she gained 4 kilos. Literally, she left the day after her. Sorry,
10 days.
Within 12 hours of her show, she was already in another country. So, and that you got to take your hat off to you, because there was obviously that little bit of stress that comes with foods.
Yeah.
There are other methods like protein sparing, modifying fasting, which
Yeah.
well, I'll let you finish off before we go into that.
But the thing that people were confused about was that, sometimes it can be a gift and a curse knowing the macros. Right? I've seen people post show, and Zoe was one of these previously, that you start like fantasizing about the numbers so much that it becomes a hindrance on your life. And it starts to carry more stress than it's worth, because you're stressing out about how you can fit in drinks with the girls, a meal out here. You've got this plan for post show, this, and this. How you can make all that work within the macros you've got. It just doesn't work, and you end up overeating, and it becomes really, really hard to balance it. And you end up in a binge restrict cycle. That's generally, I've seen it many a time. Some people can come at the back of show, the more experienced competitors, they'll know that they need to be on plan really for another 4 weeks before they can kind of loosen off a little bit and have some more leeway. So it's not a problem. But for the most part, trying to quantify everything is the only way competitors know to get around post-show, right? So they come out and they start fixating on the scales. And just as I said, it can carry more stress than it alleviates, which in a post-show recovery is really not ideal. That you're trying to alleviate all the stress you've accumulated through that deficit. You want to wash it off, not add more. And if you end up finding yourself how Zoe was the last time she competed, stressing over food, stressing over macros, calories, like rattling her brain, then starving herself so that she could accompany for something else here or there, it doesn't fit the goal of recovery. It's exactly the opposite of what you want to achieve. So we know that that was an issue with Zoe. Going away on holiday was probably one of the best decisions we made post-show, because she had distractions within her day. We had really, really high expenditure. We was doing 20 to 30K steps per day. Not intentionally, we just like exploring. We didn't bother tracking anything, steps or nothing. We just did that. We know that from the Aura.
The Aura, G.
The Aura just told us that's the only thing we could look at was expenditure. And we said, roughly, that's one big meal at breakfast, one big meal at dinner, a light lunch, and a snack somewhere within a day. That's how we quantified it. And we made sure that she stuck to them parameters. She only ate until she was full. She didn't overeat. She didn't binge eat. She never said no to anything. There was no restrictions. It was just eat till you're full, not till the plate is done. That's the only thing. Use your hunger to dictate what you eat. And then if you wanted to overindulge and we walked past a nice bakery and there was a banging bit of cake there, sweet, have the cake. Don't say no to the cake. But later on in the day, when you've got your big dinner, now make some adjustments. Okay, well, I'm only going to have something and salad. I'm going to have fish and salad or chicken and salad tonight because I already had the big piece of cake earlier that was probably the same calories as what my carbs are for this meal. It's just making sensible decisions there. Sometimes it was waking up and before we go to like a really, really big bougie meal, have a protein shake, sort of like an hour before you go. All it will do is cull the initial hunger. And you'll reduce a little bit of stomach space, slow down your digestive tract, and then you'll go and have the meal and you'll do less damage. Things like that. It's just about adult decisions around food, basically. And it turned out to be probably the best method for Zoe. Again, I highlight for her as an individual because it doesn't always apply to everyone. But it meant that the whole stress of tracking every bit of food, knowing the numbers was taken away, and it meant she could actually relax.
Yeah. That's quality, that is. It's cool to go into my deficit last year for my 2-week all-inclusive holiday whilst in a deficit.
Yep.
I spoke to Joe and I was like, I'm going on holiday. Obviously, you knew it was happening, like 2 weeks away. And I was like, what's going on with the deficit? He was like, well, your deficit continues. I was like, what do you mean? But I'm going on holiday. And he was like, yeah, like, you're in a deficit, mate. This is what we're in. You have to stick to it. What can I do? I learned an amazing method. Protein sparing, modifying fasting. It took me about 6 months to learn how to say that. Straight up. Because when I kept trying to say it, it wouldn't come out right. An amazing method that I now use on my clients.
PSMF, that's what we would call it.
Is that what you go for, yeah?
Well, it just saves me saying the long words.
Yeah, or I just say protein sparing. It helped so much because I left in England at like 98 point something, and I come back at 97.5. So like a 0.6 drop. Yeah, fluid imbalances, going to a hot country, things like that. There's going to be that there. But overall, it's a success, and I was extremely proud that I had been able to do a 2-week all-inclusive holiday enjoy every single damn minute of it, spend my anniversary out there, and come back with progress in my physique.
Yeah, intuitive to the goal.
Yeah. What's the biggest benefit, or some of the biggest benefits of doing this? So protein sparing overall is, to put it in a nutshell, chin off carbs until the evening. That is essentially the overall basis of it. So you wake up in the morning. I'd normally go to breakfast by myself because my girlfriend does not like to wake up early. I'd go and have, like, there was obviously all inclusive is obviously great for everyone because you have everything there from for every single country that's obviously at the hotel. Go to the cooked meats. I'd grab the turkey breast slices, probably grab about, I want to say about 150, 200 grams of that, just by off the top of your head when you've been looking at food for a long time. Omelette station, got them to do me egg whites only, omelettes. They put like some onion in there. And what else is there? Maybe like the smallest bit of cheese. Some omelette, turkey breast. I may even have like a slice of bacon and maybe like a sausage, like, the really small sort of like cafeteria looking ones, with a double espresso. And that was my breakfast. And then for lunch, I'd be having one of the soups, like the vegetable soups, the dishes that they cater for all these countries. It's amazing. And you can eat still amazing. Great. I ate some handsome food. There was no time there was chips on offer every single time, but you're not going on holiday just to have fucking chips, are you? Getting to try all these dishes, just simply avoiding the carb dominant sources throughout the day. Going back onto what I was saying, the benefit of that, you're not bloated walking around the pool or on the beach with your top off all day. That was a cool feeling because I felt tight all day. And me as a person quite can get self-conscious, it was like, oh sweet, I still feel good. I'm feeling pretty buff. Now I'm in a deficit, getting it done. And then when it comes to the evening, you have banked so much food to enjoy. Bear in mind, you only haven't eaten like 2 or 3 meals through the day, even by our standards, which was quite low. And then that last meal, I literally could have whatever I wanted. But I didn't want to overeat because obviously you have the goal in the back of your mind. I haven't done all this all day just to be a complete fat fuck. I could have the free meal, whatever I wanted, like just a plate load and a bit on the side. And I left dessert, to be honest, half the time because I've come away from dessert stuff a bit lately. And I even drank as well throughout this whole 2 weeks. It was so easy. Just don't don't have carbs every meal and stack them up for the evening.
Yeah. So it's the same as how you could macro track, like a way to bring us back to post show. So the protein sparing modifying fast. If you're at home and you are, come out back a show and you're in the normal situation, you've got your macros, your plan through from coach, your calories, your macros. Right. So one way that protein sparing modifying fast could work is, say you're now feeling a bit of pressure because you've got that meal out. Okay. You're worrying about how you can macro track it. Well, quite simply, this would be perfect time to still go to the social event, still enjoy that time like you want to post show after all your hard work. But maybe during the day, you'd fast 4 hours after waking up and you'd start your meals a bit later, but you'd have 2 protein only meals. So you could have egg whites and veggies, or obviously vegetables are a carb source, but quite a minor one at that. Very little caloric value, quite a lot of fiber in them. So protein and veggies, so egg whites and veg, or chicken and veg, maybe for another meal, and save the carbs and the fats, or the direct fat sources, not the trace carbs and trace fats. Save the direct carbs and the direct fats and all of the calories from that for your evening meal. So when you go out with whoever you're going out with doing a social event. So post show, that's one way you can do a daily structure setup to navigate. Oh shit, what am I going to do with my food? Oh, I'm meant to be going out for this meal. If I eat the meal out and all my food are going to be so over, I'm going to fuck it. Protein sparing modifying fast, perfect tactic for helping you to balance both the stay on the top of your fitness goals in post show window when it's important, and also still being able to all the things you've planned straight off the back of prep, meals out with family, meals out with friends, maybe it's even a night out drinking. Maybe not ideal to consume alcohol post show for maybe the first couple of weeks, but hey, people still do it, and you kind of have to account for 7 calories per gram in alcohol, and obviously the effects that has on the body system, interruptions of lipolysis, etc. But it can be done. You just have to be clever in your approach.
Because if you're a turd, what's going to happen to said turd? You're going to get fat.
Yep, very quickly.
When you gain body fat and you're a competitor, you want to get lean again, what's going to happen? That fat has to come back off at some point. I know it's a pain in the ass sometimes, and you want to eat. The truth is, you can eat. You just got to eat the right thing. And
the more you stay on point post show for that window, just 4 to 6 weeks, just be on the money. You'll slowly realize that it's the best optimal situation to A, set you up for the next phase, B, get your food in a good place to go really, really high because you've got a lot of runway from still being lean. And also, I don't want to throw a fear factor thing in here, but we said about getting fat, right? Is you can really quickly get fat. It's not just adding or filling up the space that you left behind from contest prep, right? So all of the fat that left the fat cells and prep, it's not just about filling them back up. If you aggressively fatten too quickly, you'll go into a process of collateral fattening where the body will see a need to add new adipocyte tissue, so new fat cells. You can't remove a fat cell, but you can add new ones. You can always add new ones. So when you lose fat, you don't lose the cell. You're just creating an environment where you could potentially get fatter, even fatter, with more cells. So you have to be cautious there. I don't want to throw it as a fear factor. I don't want to be like, don't eat post-show because you're going to get collateral fattening. I'm not saying that. But just be wary that if you do have an aggressive blow-up, there may be some consequences later on down the line because you will be, the potential there to get even fatter will be there.
Overall, you make the decision, obviously, what's best for you. I said every time I wasn't going to be a fat fuck. But it happened. That did happen. So I'm not the man to sit here and say, do this, do that. I've been through it. And all I can say to you is it's never ended well. It's always ended with that self-conscious factor of I look like shit again. Like, I busted my ass for 24 weeks in a deficit to look amazing, to look my best, to do these photo shoots, to win. And now I look like shit again. Yeah. As a coach, you can't do that. There's a saying that we learned, me and George did, it's called lead from the front, and now we live that life full on to the max. The peace of mind that comes alongside that, because we're eating, living, breathing proof of what it gives. I can't even explain how awesome it feels to be where I am at the minute. Like putting a picture up, being like, yeah, I know I'm getting better because I'm getting it done. There is no reason why I shouldn't be getting better. All the things line up to being better. The only thing that's saying that I'm not getting better is my mindset sometimes for training when I get so fucked and I can't do it. That's the only thing. You thought, could I have worked harder? It's like, are you questioning it? If you're questioning it, could you have done more? Things like that. But is it time to go into our drama?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got any more questions in the post-show stuff, or there's any specific topics, whether it's like hunger signaling or, gaining fat post-show, like recovery window, stuff like that, or some parameters, or anything you kind of want to dive into deeper, feel free whenever you listen to our podcast to shoot us a message and say, this is something that I'd specifically like to go into, man, because, niche topics, we can obviously dive a lot deeper into all of the things we've spoken about today and really dive into nitty gritty behind it, the science behind it, and try and keep the jargon to a minimum. But, we can obviously expand on anything we talk about. So feel free to drop us a message on the Bodybuilding Prospect Instagram page. Of course, don't ever feel like you guys can't. But yeah, we got a few questions that we'll tick through at the end.
Yeah.
Lead the way, because you was awake for the drama, I was not.
So to go through the quick drama, individual by the name of Victor Black, who I was a big fan of up until recent moments. He had put a post up, which was this post here for those that are. Was it going to focus? Come on, camera. It's
a screenshot, a screen grab from the podcast we did with Joe to dive into using performance enhancers in a safer, less harmful approach. How can we mitigate the risks essentially over time and give ourselves the best fighting chance? I'm not using that term. I'm not saying that.
So we did a podcast with Joe. Obviously, me and George have learned so much from Joe over the past year. Well, even more than a year. We're in like a good 16 to 18 months now.
Nearly at 19, I think, nearly.
Yeah. And the main reason why I went to Joe in the first place was for safer use in bodybuilding, the safer approach to bodybuilding, and understanding the what's and the whys behind certain methods, uses, drug loads, enhancements, training, blah blah blah, to become better and like get my knowledge like increased. Being a mentee of Joe. Long and short of it is there's something called the safe use model. It's calculating performance enhancements for an athlete. Someone had obviously sent this to Victor, I guess, and recognized what was said. And he's gone on and said that this is how you get in on my shit list, using my models, not giving me credit for it. And you know, if you're going to put my face, my best mate's face, and my coach's face on there and try and blast what was said, I will not have it. In a nutshell, I did get blocked eventually, but I did try and be nice to start with, because I knew he has a history of anyone arguing with him, he'll block him. He has been spoken about in videos by Jordan Peters and a few other bodybuilding legends out there about him coming after him and trying to slate him. The overall is you demanded respect for it. Mate, we respect what you've done. Flat out. If he even listens to this, mate, we respect it. Why? Because you've helped me in my bodybuilding career. You've helped me be at ease with using certain drugs in bodybuilding. There's your fucking credit, mate. All right? That's it. Do you know what I mean? But don't go out there and try and slate someone who is a good person, is a great coach, doesn't claim to be fucking top dog. And when I have said such things as, because I called all my things that we were doing with Joe, I called it the Joe Jeffrey effect or the Jeffrey method, you know, a little joke and a laugh of it. Every time Joe would be like, these aren't my methods, you know, none of these are anyone's methods. These are things we've picked up from previous mentors and they're passed on.
Yeah. Yeah. As it should be. Education and the way that the world evolves is by passing on knowledge, right? You don't copyright it, right? You can't, because all you've done is you've looked at clinical data and taken away from it your opinion of said data and formulated what you think and made some good decisions around certain compound stuff that we use. Great. Someone needed to do it. Someone needed to. I'm sure there are doctors out there that have made the same assumptions about all these different individual stuff that you do, but you've just grouped it together for us as bodybuilders. Sick. Mm-hmm. But unless you write a book, take everything you've done, put it into a book, call it the Victor Black Safer Use Model, copyright that shit, and sell it.
Patent it.
Trust me.
Patent. If you got your credit, mate. Like, it wasn't
your credit. Your credit is your job as a coach and an educator is to make the industry better. These people, all quote unquote, using your methods, that is the reward. You've dropped a pin in the ocean and got a tsunami. You've got your effect, or whatever you're claiming, has changed the industry. That is the reward. That is what should be making you wake up every day feeling like, you know what, fuck yeah, I did that. Sick. But you don't. Your ego is what's stepping in the way now, trying to clutch at constant recognition of this. If we was to do that, we'd be going back fucking centuries, having to write a fucking accreditations list for every. All right, fuck it, I'll drop my phone. Einstein et al. Like, fuck off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's ego.
I'll just tag the Neanderthals for why I'm eating fucking protein, mate. Do you know what I mean?
What?
Yeah. It was the fact that he kept repeating himself to me. Can you reconcile this? Can you agree with this? I coached this man for a year. I helped him so much. Yes, mate. Well, more for you then for coaching someone for free than someone using your fucking method.
Mate, the purpose of coaching someone is they're paying for your services. So
you wanted to help someone. You did a great thing by helping someone become a great coach who is now a great coach. Your name is mentioned in a positive light.
Always.
Coming out there this way, bro, you're going to get thrown around like a bag of shit, because you just stop tarnishing people for no reason, you know?
The industry of coaching, we look to sources of relevant information to learn and get better. People like Dr. Scott Stevenson, Dr. Eric Helms, Lyle McDonald, Victor Black is in that list of people, Broderick Savez, Joe, John Jewett, like there's some of the newer guys that are now coming out. You learn off of a mentor, right? The mentor passes stuff on. Majority of the time, I don't know about Joe and his situation, but majority of the time, you pay for that service to learn. You end up booking a consultation, you'll pay for the knowledge. You pay for it, right? That's your That's your credit. That is why you do what you do. You've been paid for that service to share that information and pass it on down the line. Then that coach will go and give it out to all his clients that are paying for that service. You've already had the accreditation. The accreditation came in the paycheck that these people sent to you when they book in a consult for your information. That's what they paid you for. I don't know if Joe didn't pay him or what that setup was, but that's irrelevant. Most of the people that he's slated over the time have probably paid him for consults to talk through stuff and learn. That's a service you offer. Don't offer it as a paid service. Keep it all to yourself and trademark it a different way.
Yeah. We call it, the trickle-down effect, as we've called it for so long. I worked under Jace Long, same as Georgie, for like 3 years. Jace, in his own time as a coach, was working under Rob Whitfield, Team LRF. And then we got the trickle-down effect from Rob Whitfield and Team LRF. And then he went to Jamie Dorego. We then got the trickle-down effect because we noticed the change in his coaching from him. More and more people that are in those circles, you notice the changes within their own programming to become better. Like, I even had a voice note from Jace earlier. He says, my programming has changed so much, like, since you last worked with me, even from drug loads, trainings, everything, because everything changes.
Yeah.
Well, just why come out there and throw unnecessary shade on my fucking people? There's no need.
If you're now, you've done the job, you've done what you intended to do, you shared the message, you've improved bodybuilding. I don't see why. The only reason why he's now chasing accreditation here is because his ego is obviously blown up, and now he thinks, I need to be king of the castle. Like, no, son, there are people before you that were doing your job, and there will be people after you're gone that are still doing your job. And in 20 years' time, there'll probably be some coach who's saying, fucking look at that Neanderthal Victor Black saying this, and this. Yeah. When new research comes out and proves you wrong, it's science. It's always evolving. Like, just stop.
In 25 years, when SARMS takes over because of all the research that fucking turns out that this stuff is shit up, might put performance enhancements to a fucking stump. But we'll never know. But overall, it's bodybuilding now better with these things in place.
Just a side note, currently there is no SARM that does that. Just gonna
I knew I was gonna throw something in there
before people get excited.
Yeah, it was funny. Someone was talking about MK677 the other day. Is one of my friends in the military, and I was like, "Yeah," I said, "I quit it at one study of it," and they overall said it's shit.
It's true though.
I'm just going to say, mate, like, he said, can you get hold of it? Things like that. Can you help me? Like, I was like, yeah, of course. No doubt. We can get hold of a few people. We'd probably get hold of it.
SARMS, you've only got to go, you type in on Google SARMS.
You can go on Google, but even if I just don't trust something you can get straight up off the website.
You can buy it as a research chemical.
Yeah. Mad. And he was throwing a few other random names, like RIP 400, but not like a fucking anabolic, but like a SARM. And I'm like, so I went on PubMed and I typed it in, and he was like, yeah, there was no evidence to suggest muscle growth. Like, even with the placebo group and the tested group, it was like, yeah, maybe. But I do have a belief there will be maybe one or two that is created that becomes something.
So Osterin, now this is okay, right. Now I will credit Victor Black now. Again, I have learned.
Have you credit, mate? Have you fucking?
I know, because this is what I mean. I've used Victor. I was in some of his female enhancement webinars and stuff. Like, he is very fucking good, man. And I think it's a shame that it's gone the way it has, because he's a bundle of knowledge, and for him just to go this way is just a bit of a shame. But I've learned stuff off him, specifically like the potential for Osterin to maybe have a place in female enhancement, because it did, it failed I think it was like the third human trial. Don't quote me. But it's the closest SARM they've got to being approved for human use long term, and could potentially have a plausible effect in the androgen sensitive, right? People that can't do steroids, i.e. females, women, children, females, children, and the elderly. Mm-hmm. So they're on the right track of what they're trying to achieve, but it just hasn't been done yet. Like the SARMS route it's an idea that we're trying to move in the right direction and find something that has medical application within the androgen sensitive and get all those benefits we're looking for, but it just hasn't happened yet. So SARMS, in a general sense, until one gets fully approved for human use and it has the right literature to back it, then they are pointless. Put them in the bin.
And we won't be using it until that is in place.
Well, yeah, yeah, it's a shame that everything's gone the way it has though with Victor. Again, like I generally, well, I woke up when I saw that and I was a little bit disappointed, man, because he's someone that I quoted amongst, you know, like I said a minute ago, like Dr. Eric Helms, Lyle McDonald, Dr. Scott Stevens. They're people that I generally look to learn from, and he's one of them, and it's just a bit shit to see.
Isn't Victor Black one of the top people to go to for fertility?
He's had a very good success rate with helping people who've been told they can't have children because of years of steroid abuse, male and female. He's helped them. He quoted it ages and ages and ages ago. I think it was like that, to know that there's like 3 or 4 kids out there that are a result of me helping the parents conceive because of their abuse and steroids and how to do that. That's fucking sick, man. Like that
is amazing. And that was, because I even said in my story when I spoke about it, he is the person that I will go to. It maybe I'll still make up my mind now. If I ever have a problem on that side of things when that time comes, you know. The man's respected. Like, you got a wealth of knowledge, man. You've been invited on so many podcasts, but don't tarnish what you've got, you know, for claiming credit for something. You're a knowledgeable dude. Just don't shit on everyone for no reason. You know, you try to shit on JP, like you try and shit on JP, you're gonna have 1 million people coming at you in their fucking 4XL fucking ghost tops.
Yeah, trust me.
And they will be coming at you in force. But
it's the way that knowledge gets passed on between humans. It just gets shared from person to person, and you teach people, you educate people, and slowly along the line, the person who created it kind of does get forgotten. Unless you do something revolutionary that's going to affect the entire globe, like discover gravity, you're probably not going to go down in the school books anytime soon.
Yeah.
You know, most of the people that make moves within industries don't really get remembered for life. You're not going to concrete yourself in history by being a cunt. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, by being a cunt.
It's not going to work, man. You're just building an army of people that hate you, and there's no real reason for it. Like
I would love to actually speak to him. Maybe
you can't get a word in. You can't get a word in.
What do you reckon?
He'll just talk. He will just talk, and if you start talking, he'll continue.
Respectfully, it will be our podcast, and it'd just be like, come on, like, can you just shut the fuck up for a second? Like, let me ask you a few questions. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. He's clever. Like, he won't let you.
Mate, kick from podcast in a bit.
Just put him back in the waiting room.
Yeah, go sit there for a minute.
Call it off.
Right. Walk around the fucking block and then come back and talk to me.
Yeah, fucking hell, mate. But yeah, Matt, it's a bit of a mad one. But anyway, publicity-wise, look, it's our podcast. Our podcast has been shared by someone who's quite big in the industry, which is pretty cool. So, positive or negative, still pretty cool. Yeah, exactly that, mate. Hasn't made that much of an impact on our lives. We had a few questions. How much time you got?
Not a lot.
How much is not a lot?
About 7 minutes.
Okay, right. Well, there's a few. So there's 4 I can go through now. How should you approach reverse dieting? Increases, durations, times, etc. by D Marshall 011. The short answer is don't reverse diet. You should be focusing on getting back to maintenance.
Yeah,
that should be.
You pretty much are saying the same. Like, it is a type of reverse. Let's just say that as well.
Okay, yeah, but it's not implemented over time. You're just reversing your calories back up to maintenance.
Yeah.
So going the whole hog back up, whatever that is, and then you would just sit there at maintenance for the foreseeable until those negative adaptations I spoke about within maybe sleep, hunger signaling, the actual amount of body fat you've got on correct themselves, and then move on from there for the next goal. There's, none of this weekly increments of calories back up to maintenance over an extended period of time. You're not achieving anything.
We go by data.
You're not achieving anything bar staying in a deficit for longer. You're just extending your prep by doing that. You just need to get back to maintenance, and that's recovery. Shoot that the whole way through your recovery window. But again, making sure that if it is true maintenance, you will correct the negative adaptations that I spoke about. Same guy, any staple post show sups. One that I got, well, it depends.
5 guys.
Yeah, 5 guys. So one that I implemented straight away with Zoe. It depends also on what approach you use to peak week, whether you've used diuretics and things like that. Obviously, I'm not a fan of it. All of my fluid manipulations were done manually via sodium, fluid, and caffeine, and Peak Max. Shout out Strong Peak Max. It's a sick product. So one of the things that I implemented straight away with Zoe, it was quite handy. They gave us the Dr. Dean supplement needs electrolytes. So after such a long time of depleting Zoe and then pushing her into the natural diuresis process, straight away off stage, first thing I said was, right, let's get the electrolyte drink in you, replenish some hydration and food. Apart from that, you should have all of your essentials from a vitamins and minerals perspective covered the whole way through prep. So you shouldn't be deficient really of anything bar that at the end of prep. If you are, then you probably could have been supplementing them things into your final week realistically. But yeah, that's probably the main ones there. Really, yeah, that's the only real consideration post show, bar getting food in, back to maintenance, and just settling your electrolyte balance. Lactic addict Luke. Have you found planning out the next goal beneficial to ease post show blues?
Yeah. How far do you want to take it? Your actions are going to reflect the goal, blah blah blah. I've got this planned. And what I'm if I'm doing what I'm doing right now, does that reflect where I want to go?
Yeah. I think if you come out the back of post comp, one way to help you control that is to book a photo shoot for 2 weeks time past your comp, and then you've got a reason to stay in condition. You've got a reason to stay excited and motivated and kind of see out that process a bit more efficiently. So yeah, 100%. And then Jan coming out with do you struggle with cravings post show and tips how to curve these? Jesus.
Fucking hell, mate.
The whole approach to the recovery phase.
Yeah.
that's my answer there.
You're going to want to eat.
Yeah.
Fact, you're going to want to eat.
Yeah.
Stay busy.
Yeah.
Make sure, well, if you're prepping yourself, fucking good luck to you, staying headstrong. Speak to your coach, have your plan in place, be headstrong as well, and just know, not that St. George said about the fear factor thing, but if you do fuck it, you are going to have negative repercussions that you're going to have to deal with.
Something that helps, I think, is differentiating between what is hunger and what is appetite, because they're two very different things. Hunger will stimulate appetite and tell you to eat because it's a survival mechanism, right? Your body knows when it's hungry, it needs food for a reason. Appetite, however, could be triggered not just by being hungry, but also I call it the gremlin, right? Grelin.
Gremlin, the gremlin, yeah.
Right, the hunger hormone that if you feed it, it just wants more. So understanding that if you cure the craving by eating said craving, ghrelin's going to spike and you're going to want to eat more food, even more. And it's a vicious cycle that never ends if you don't just stop. Just my biggest advice here would be have your post-show meal, enjoy the food, enjoy the time, and then get back on plan, and don't deviate from it. I know it sounds very strict, it sounds very harsh, but in the short-term goal of recovery, you're much better off doing this because your hunger signaling will be minimized. If you start pushing the boundaries of these parameters, which is fine, okay, you will struggle when ghrelin spikes and it drives your appetite even more. But you just got to be able to understand that when you're hungry, you could eat vegetables and that would fill the space and tell you that you're not hungry anymore. Whereas appetite will tell you to eat a cookie and then tell you to eat more cookies.
Yeah, it's if you like set your limits, set your plan to do something, it's going to help massively. Like, for example, if you're going out for dinner, don't take home the extras. Say if you're having a home cooked meal and you're done with it and there's leftovers on the side, is that going to be temptation for later on? Put it away. Don't be stocking your cupboards like I did previously, stupidly, with Reese's Pieces this and M&M's that and the American sweet shop, because it's just in the house, mate, and you're going to want to have it. Ladies and guys, I don't mean to say mate, but you're going to want to have it.
Out of sight.
My apartment now is the most bodybuilding friendly apartment possibly on the planet. You know, the only thing shit is an Easter egg sitting in the door of that fridge, which hasn't even been touched yet. That's it. I'm trying to think what else is shit. There's not. If it's not there, you can't have it.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. One thing to go into for finishes. Harvin was saying about a possible weight cap for amateurs. Should there be a limit on the size amateurs can get before turning pro? Health related. Once pro and health is in check at amateur level, shackles come off to push big. Now, pretty much what I'm guessing he's trying to say is, should there be a limit to the size amateur can get? Obviously, I agree. I think there should be some possible things in place. As you, that's you can go haywire with that. Let's take that.
It's such a weight caps is such a very difficult.
Because I don't like weight caps in classic, to be honest.
Yeah, classic, for example, right? There are people that but there has to.
I mean,
there has to be something that captions off and encloses one category from the next.
Yeah.
And without it, the lines just get too blurred. You know, men's physique guys can do a classic show and also a men's physique show and look good in both because the lines have just blurred. See it in the female divisions. PCA do bikini trained. I think it's like something figure. I can't remember what it is. Athletic figure or something like that. And they do tone figure, athletic figure. It just blurs the lines of it all. You know, there's too much grey area between the divisions there. Where it's like, we got open bodybuilding, classic bodybuilding, men's physique. We got bikini, we got figure, we got wellness, and then we have like women's physique or women's bodybuilding, whatever you want to call it. When you try and without the caps, it creates a minefield where you've got people that can float between categories, and I think it just makes it harder, right? So if you, from a health perspective, I kind of agree. I think that is quite a cool thing to put in place, but it would then shut the door for a few people. You know, there are people that could turn pro and have a very classic physique and do look classic. They have the right physique for classic. They just don't fit the weight cap, so they have to compete in bodybuilding, and then they keep getting beat by the big bodybuilder.
That's some guys are like, there are guys that can stand next to me that are smaller than me but are heavier than me.
Yeah.
Same vice versa. Everyone carries mass, actual weight different, and that's what's tough with it. Because there are tall guys who weigh fuck all. There are tall guys who weigh a lot. There are short guys who weigh a lot, and there's medium-sized guys who weigh a lot and not a lot. It's hard to put it into perspective. How can you put a limit on it for safer reasons? Health markers, requirement of blood work to be checked and to be within good ranges. That's one way to go by it, because it's just a conscious effort, right? You want people to be knowing that they're doing a thing consciously to be better.
I feel like that, but I think the question now leads us into a very, very difficult topic now, because it goes from, will weight caps help with the health situation, right, with bodybuilding?
No.
I don't think it will, because it makes it hard when we look at people coming up. But I think if we look down the lines of health, then there's got to be mandatory checks put in play. But at some point, someone's going to have to give. Either the federations are going to have to fork out to bring people in to do this sort of stuff and regulate it, which they're probably not going to do because people at the top are money grabbing, and they don't see any problem with it because they're still getting their paycheck coming, even if bodybuilders are dropping dead. You know, people are always going to bodybuild. So I think at some point we need regular health checks, but it's not just blood work. It's not just looking at bloods for one moment in time. It's tracking your echocardio's over time to see heart growth. It's getting calcium score tests done. It's blood work frequently when it's needed, not just when you come off because you know it's going to look good. Like,
the federations need to have something in place that has health in mind, because there is zero right now. There's nothing health related at all towards competing.
I think before someone becomes a pro, like before someone does a pro qualifier, they should have to be vetted to make sure they are healthy.
Well, maybe obviously, why at a pro qualifier level? Why not?
Ideally, it would be the whole way through. You know, if you're competing with a federation, there should be mandatory checks that are put in place once you register, I reckon. But getting that to be pushed forward is hard. I think a stepping stone to get there would be obviously at pro shows, making sure all the pros are safe. And then later down the line, you could implement it that if you're going to compete at a pro qualifier for the card, you have to be healthy, because you can't then jump into the pro ranks and push willingly. That's going to make it worse.
Because like he does say, when the shackles do come off once you turn pro, because let's be honest, you now just scraped, and you've gone from like year 6 in primary school, top of the board, to year 7 secondary school. You're back at the bottom of the pile. It's a perfect way to put it there. Shackles come off because you're going to want to push again. To be there.
If you've pushed your health already just to turn pro, what are you going to do when you get in the pro league?
When you're walking around with 300 pounds, and as we've seen in recent, is things are going a bit south with some of those guys.
And again, like there has to be something pushed back on the individual as well. Like there's a lot of genetic factors that go into this. Look at Corey at Sleeraw.
Yeah.
He's not 300. I'm not taking anything away from Corey. His fucking physique is sick. He is a very big dude, and I really like him. Like, a lot of time. But this is a prime example. Like, he didn't push up to, open bodybuilder. He looking at Corey, his potential within the sport was insane.
He was a super heavyweight.
Yeah, I know, but he was still scratching the surface. Just getting into like really seeing what could happen, and boom, something's occurred within his health, and that's down to genetic predisposition, not just what he's done.
Yeah.
So there's anomalies. I was just trying to highlight that he's a prime anomaly of what the things that we're not checking up on. So there has to be some self-acceptance of this is kind of my responsibility as well. Not, the federations do need to do something, but I think sharing more about genetic testing and how you can interpret that to understand your risk factor before going into using performance enhancements, I think should be something coaches promote mandatory. And I think before that, coaches need to understand what they're looking for and what they're doing as well.
Yep. A conscious effort is
on both sides.
So, unfortunately, I do have to run, but that was pretty cool today. Timed it perfect. On to the next.
Yeah, we need to.
We'll go through some more fun.
Yeah.
George will be in prep. I'll be getting bigger. Everyone else is doing what they're doing. Hopefully, no dramas to discuss next time. But feel free to reach out to the page or us ourselves. If you've got anyone you want us to talk to, get on. Someone whose voice you want to hear. I'll reach out to anyone to come on here. But thank you so much for obviously joining us again, and we'll go for the next one.
Of course, sign off. Big shout out to our sponsors, Complete Strength and 3 Degrees Therapy.
As always,
Complete
Strength, top of the fridge, and in all these damn cupboards. It's everything. But yeah, Complete Strength. Either use Alex 10 or GW. What is it?
GW10.
GW10. Check your pick. You're helping us out. Obviously supporting us, and obviously a great brand. We don't just chat shit for no reason. We support them, hopefully. So thank you very much, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Peace, guys.
Safe.